everybody. We're through the warm-up, and welcome to the Wednesday Board Game Live, which might be the final one of these. Obviously, this year it's going to be, because, like, next week is the holiday, and then, so we'll probably be back on January 2nd, January 9th, and then January 16th. But then that's going to be it. We got 3 more lives, everybody.
Hopefully we don't lose you.
Well, yeah, it's very nice of you to say. That's very kind, Dee, that you would even suggest that. So we had actually planned this one a couple of times. We had to move it around. Dee has been so gracious. We were going to do gamers and gifts all month, but now we're just going to do it this one time.
Oh, hold on, is that being my mic? Give me 1 second.
Be back.
Can you hear me?
I can.
I'm just going to not even use my earbuds. I'll just do it this way. It's fine. Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. So, for folks who don't know either you or Main Street Fun and Games, Dee, give us the elevator pitch for you and your store.
I am a teeny little store in a teeny little town. There's about 4,000 people in my town. I have
until holiday season, and then how many people show up?
In the summer, about 30,000 people, 30 to 40,000 people a week, and it rotates every week because people come in weekly. This time of year during the winter, we go up to about 20,000. So it's not quite as big. Summers are actually our biggest sales time, which is very different than most retail stores. Like right now is crunch time for all of my friends, and me too, but definitely for me, I get kind of 2 Christmases. So.
That seems good for a game store. Yeah.
It's exhausting, but it's excellent.
Did you ever decide if you were going to move your location?
I did move.
Yay!
And I moved back to where I was. So I was in a teeny little store, and then I moved to this beautiful old church, and then I moved back to my little store.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And now you're happy, like you've come full circle, and you're like,
I love it. I have a new landlord, and it's just such a perfect spot, and I love the other location, but we didn't use it the way I thought we would, and it was costing us a lot of money, and just all of the stars aligned to put us back in our old space, and everyone loves us there. So people just keep coming in and telling us how happy they are that we're there.
That's awesome. And are you back on Main Street then?
Well, we were always on Main Street, but my old the location I was in previously was back about 30 feet off of Main Street, which doesn't seem like a lot, but oh my gosh, location. It might as well have been 2 miles to a lot of people.
Ukachaka is asking, are you fun in games in Oregon? No.
No, I'm in British Columbia, Canada.
Oh, no, BC, yes. Yes, we do those good. How long have you been running your establishment, Dee?
10.5 years.
That is a long time. Congratulations.
Thank you. I was pretty excited when we hit the 10-year mark. That was an accomplishment. So. Yeah,
like for us, it is going to be 12 years of Fight in a Box come March.
Amazing. Look at us go.
One of the best pieces of advice for people who are interested in the frame of mind to join the industry comes from John from Terrible Games. And John's like, hey, if you want to be in the industry, just stay in the industry. Like the more that you are here, the greater your chances are for success.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as we are discussing gamers and gifts, do you give advice to people who are coming in about what to buy for other types of people? Like when people are coming to buy gifts,
yes.
Do you have some set advice that you like to give them that we can share today on the live?
That's a really good question. One of the things I like to talk to people about is to not think about what they like, but what the people are buying for is like, just like any other gift. But games are rough because it's really hard to imagine someone not loving the games that you love. Because I know there's games, Cascadia, there's certain games that I absolutely love. And I'm like, well,
Like
everyone's
processing a game
processing.
of serving humanity.
Processing
Like,
and Squirrel or Die are two of my favorites to sell, for sure.
see, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
that's great. Um, uh, it is really hard. The reason that we have these questions before I derailed D was um, it's sometimes hard when getting gifts or figuring out how people can get you the gifts that you want, how to separate yourself and your feelings from the object in a way that is useful enough so that you can get them an object that they themselves want.
yeah. Particularly in board games, because you want them to have a success. That first game that they play, if they're not, particularly if they're not playing it with the giver who might know the game already, it can, if they're not a gamer, it can be, board games can be intimidating to people who don't play them. So,
Yeah, so my number one rule for if you are a gamer giving a non-gamer or somebody new to the hobby a gift is you must teach them that game or have played that game with them 3 times before.
absolutely, absolutely.
Like
Great
it,
advice.
it is a reason to get the game to the table. It is a reason, and if the game comes with "I will teach you this game," they are more. It is going to be a lot more chance for success
And that's part of the
than
game too. You're giving your time as well as the game, which I think is a great, way to make the gift even more special. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So, and you touched on this with your first rule is uh like not every game that you like other people will have the ability to understand why it is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is gaming is like any other deep hobby where you get to spend time with it. The more you're in it, the more nuanced and knowledge and skill building that you have done, so that you can appreciate like why like 4 hours of Twilight Imperium is appropriate for certain people. Like it's
I have
not
not
never
hit that
really a
point yet. Still have not hit that point. I have been in the industry for 10 years and I still haven't hit that point.
Oh yeah, no, like, and it's okay. Like,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
So Ugachaka has some great suggestions. King of Tokyo. If
mhm.
if you're going to try to give people a um, a avenue into why this game is for them, like King of Tokyo is just Yahtzee with more
Mhm.
rules.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, and that was actually one of the first games that I played with my family when I started working in a game store, and we all loved it. And my husband and daughter still love playing that one with me, which is good because my husband does not like playing board games. It's tragic.
Um, all right. So
Okay.
we should talk about this, and this is an important thing when giving the gift of games is why don't other people like games? And the number one reason is learning. Now, learning for people who have an adverse relationship to games either makes them feel dumb or makes them feel like they're at work.
Yeah.
They have such an antagonistic relationship with learning and other adults telling them what to do that this is a barrier for the game for them.
Yeah. I agree, actually. And um, I find that when it comes to learning a new game, even I struggle with that a lot. And I mean, I have to learn a lot of games when I go to Gamma or when I go to Origins and sit down. Trying to learn a new game is a barrier. One thing that I know for myself and other players that I've talked to is never try to teach a game you don't know. Like it's if you
And never start a game night with we're gonna watch this half an hour video.
that exactly, or opening the instruction books to learn as you go. Like those are things that are going to kill your game, right? Like it's not going to be fun. And people, I've tried it and I've done it the wrong way a few times, and it's always
Oh no. Yeah, it doesn't
uh,
work.
I know
It does it absolutely does not work. That is in the don't do list.
yeah.
Um so when giving the gift of games,
Hmm.
uh uh when giving the gift of games and taking on the responsibility of teaching the person or having already taught them the game,
Yeah.
you always should start your teach, doesn't matter who it is, with asking the person how they like to learn.
Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
And this is a real good indicator for the person. If you don't know where they are in their game journey,
Yeah.
what kind of answer they come back with. If they are like, somebody who's now hit their 30s or older, and the question of how they like to learn hasn't come up to them in like years,
Yeah.
this is a very clear indicator that you need to step back from how you're going to approach the situation and re initialize it for that individual.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, the last element for why a person might not like a game is hyper competitive. They might have some relationship with competition and insecurity, whatever it is, that they can't take losing. I cannot tell you how many of my friends who are in like heteronormative relationships whose wives are hyper competitive. They're like, no,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, just let them win then, because you win because you get to play the game.
My daughter and I get mean when we play games. We do. And it's so funny because I'm not a mean person, but something about playing board games, particularly with my daughter, the two of us are merciless.
I'm sort of interested in seeing that. Like you're a board gamer and Canadian, and then something. Where is the switch that gets flipped, D? That you're suddenly like out for blood.
It's funny. And honestly, my daughter who's 16, her favorite game is still Five Crowns. She will play Five Crowns till like if the Wi-Fi goes off in our house, she will come upstairs holding Five Crowns. Wait, and then we're in Canada, the Wi-Fi goes off all the time. Comes up and holding the game and just looking at me like a puppy. So of course we play, and by the end of it, I mean, I don't want to say I swear at my child, but on occasion, sometimes words, but she swears back, so it's fine. So.
All right, this brings us to our next important feature between gamers and non-gamers.
Mhm.
Okay, a non-gamer, and I think this is a great definition, is it's easy for them to say we have enough games,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that number is 8 or 12. Like we have these two shelves in this closet is filled with games. Why do we need any more games?
And not only that, the non-gamer has enough games, and there's 8 games, and they all have the same mechanic. You roll dice and move around the board. So they don't
Yeah.
understand that there are other ways to play games.
Yeah,
So
it does surprise me, D. What is the most surprising question you get from people when you say when you tell them you own a game store?
that you know what? That's a good question. What is the most surprising thing that or surprising question that I get?
Or a common question, either way.
The
We can
most
start from the
common.
most common to the most surprising.
How
Common,
do you pick,
surprising.
how do you pick the games? And do I play all the games before they come in? Um, So, and that's, I mean, and I get that from non gamers and gamers because the gamers look at my selection and go, how the heck do you even know about that game? And the non gamers are like, I've never seen any of these before. How do you even know about that game? So it's really interesting.
I think people don't understand exactly how many SKUs are added to gaming every year, right?
It's
And what the
in
responsibility of a game store is to be able to service, obviously, your local game community, but more importantly, those people who are walking in and going to create their forever memories in and around the games that you're helping them with their holiday,
Yeah, yeah, and that's a big
right?
part of our store because we are a place, a town where people come to disconnect from the world and connect with each other. And of course, that's what board games do, is we create connection. So they're coming into my store with the hope for their family that we're going to help them make that moment, that family moment that they're going to remember. And
All
that's
right,
a lot of
so what
responsibility.
is your family moment game for the year then, D?
Right now, Hughes and Q's. Hughes and Q's
Q's
is
and Q's is
great.
a great choice,
Yeah.
but it is also like 3 years ago.
I know, but the thing is, my town is so 3 years ago. The people coming in my store, and we talk about buying games for the people that are your community and your customers, and choosing games. It's not always the freshest and the newest game. It's the game that's going to work the most. I still sell more Telestrations, which is 10, 15 years old, than I do any brand new game off the shelf. So
All right, so Huga Chaka had asked about the 4,800 SKUs. 4,800 SKUs does include like Warhaming SKUs and CGG SKUs.
and
Yeah, it's not just solely board games.
yeah,
It is new objects to be sold at game stores.
yeah.
Yeah. Like there's 5,000 of these things every
Every,
year added on to the 5,000 from the previous year, from the previous year, from the previous year, like telestrations, like you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah. We
Um,
call those evergreens. So games that
yes,
are evergreen that come out year after year that have stood the test of time. Ticket to Ride, Catan, even Telestrations in our store. Those games, I still sell lots of them. So
and if you're going to go to the other side, games that sell every year because they are always a thing. Magic the Gathering and Warhammer, we call lifestyle games.
yeah, oh
This
yeah,
person drops into the hobby and this is all consuming for them. They don't like that is all that they have. Like Dungeons and Dragons can be a lifestyle game depending on your play group. But like uh considering the financial potential for spending, and that's going to be the euphemism I'm going to use. Like Magic and Warhammer has a different level of depth. Like that you can spend money on an annual basis.
it does. And I tend to look at my customers again with that potential for spending. Starting them in the right place is going to make them a lifetime customer and they're going to keep coming back. If I sell them a game that they're not ready for yet and they have a bad experience, they're not coming back to me. But if I sell them something that their family loves and enjoys and they have a great experience with, they come back year after year after year. I have
Yeah, like yeah, twice a year,
Yep,
every year, forever.
yep. I have
Um,
people that skip the game stores in all the cities they drive through to come to my little itty bitty game store and buy all their games, which is magic.
it is magic, and what a lot of folks don't understand uh, as like when you go from gamer to game industry person
Mhm.
is how the different audiences spend money.
Yeah,
Like uh, like for board games, if your store is mainly into board games, like Kylie's, in Pittsburgh and so forth and whatnot, you're gonna have people who show up once or twice a year, and then you're never gonna see them other times. And then
yeah,
you have your regulars and so forth and whatnot. But those once or twice a year people are probably like 50% of your board game sales.
yeah,
So if you get a person and you give them a good experience by getting them the right game, which is part of today's topic, like how do you buy for gamers and non-gamers, uh, then then that helps you with the lifetime acquisition of a customer. Like
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that helps you at year 10 and year 11 and year 12 of
Yeah.
your, if you've been around long enough, that hits all those things. So evergreens, almost by nature are uh, either entry level or gateway,
Yeah. Absolutely.
because it's hard to have like, we're now like, Wingspan is an evergreen that's pretty meaty.
Yeah.
Uh, D, what is your idea for other sort of fairly meaty evergreens?
Meaty evergreens. I mean, I would definitely put in my store at least Wingspan at the top of that list. And Wormspan. I don't know if Wormspan's going to be an evergreen. I think it's really popular right now, but um, even games like Stardew Valley, I don't know if it's going to be an evergreen, but it has been really, really popular for a couple years now in our store, and I can't, I don't see the demand diminishing in our store at least. So, meaty evergreens. What else would I? Just listing the games off that in my head of all the games that we have in our store. For me, like, oh, there's a crab on your head, Steffi. Most of
I
the
wish
games,
that was the first time somebody had said that to me, D. I wish that that was the case.
I don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk
Um,
about it. Let's
no,
move
no, no,
on.
no, no. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, my evergreens, my favorite evergreens, honestly, I could sell Cascadia and Tiny Towns and Calico every day, all day long. I love those ones.
This
They're
is very, 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 very important. Different game stores will have different perspectives, and those people will champion different games. And as a publisher, it is like essential for me to build these one-on-one relationships. So they decide to take the time to champion my games.
absolutely.
Um, so if we're talking about like gamers and gifts, and we're in the how do I get a game for someone else category, the um, the meatiness of the game has everything to do with you understanding how comfortable and how long that person is willing to sit down and do one activity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like,
For
this is
me,
also another reason that adults might be adverse to gaming, because they do not like, if they're not on the clock, they're not sitting down for a 50-minute meeting.
yeah. You know what game I start most people on?
What is
Suro.
that?
Suro. It is easy.
Oh,
It is the. I mean, you can open that box, and in 5 minutes, every person at the table knows how to play. You can play with 2 people all the way up to 8 people, but it's there's just weird things happening on your head. I'm not gonna. But the thing about Suro is that it's a game where there's no dice. There's no like moving around a board. So if you have someone who's only ever played a mass market game where like Monopoly or Game of Life, it's going to be such a completely different experience, and it is incredibly simple and it gives them a success. The second they play it, they're like, "Oh, well that was different and it was neat and it was interesting. What's next?" So, we're always thinking what's next after that next game. So,
yeah, that's really good. Asuro is a great suggestion.
yeah,
It is unique, it is easy to understand, and there's only one action, which is to add a tile and follow the path.
exactly.
And it makes people think of things in a new way. And tile placement is a great entry level mechanic for people.
Absolutely.
So thinking about it that way. So David on the in the chat had asked a question, and that is for you, D, and this is different for all stores. How many copies of a game do you need to sell in a year for you to want to keep it on your shelves indefinitely?
Indefinitely. If a game is turning, I would say probably. Oh, and my numbers are going to be really high compared to most stores, so it's going to be skewed. If I can sell 18 to 24 in a year, it's probably going to be continuously and coming back onto my shelves.
All right,
Um,
explain. This is a very important term and
yeah.
for people, and like if you don't do retail, explain the concept of turnkey.
So the concept of turns is basically how many times a game sells on your shelf in the space of a year. So most game stores are happy if your entire inventory number value turns over 3 to 6 times in a year is a good number. Now, individual games, individual products are going to do that way more. But the average of the entire inventory when it turns, yeah, you want like 3 to 6, I think is a good number. Minus 6, but I have a small store. So, and I stock deep, which means I have a lot of one game instead of one of every game. I pick my winners and I stock lots of those winners. So, yeah,
Uh, and different game stores have different philosophies.
absolutely.
Like Kylie's store has like all board games. Like his wall is just, and he is trying to always not only be there for the new people, but also be there for the like board game aficionado. What's new this week at the store? Where you're looking like what's new this year to champion to add and like when do you decide to take something out of rotation?
It's really hard to give up my games, Seppi. Like they're like kids. I hate like when they move away where I can't have them anymore. Um, so honestly, there's a point where a game starts to languish on the shelf, where it just stops turning, and I have to decide whether or not um, we revitalize it by sitting down as staff and playing it again, or if we just say this game has had its time. We've sold so many of them that every customer that comes in has got it, and we just let it go, which is really hard. Um, there's a couple games this year where I had to do that. That I just did not want to say goodbye to those games. But
There's been a lot of reasons for to say goodbye to a game. The publisher no longer supports it.
mhm,
It's hard to get in distribution.
yeah,
Uh, uh, Another game has supplanted what that game does. Or the zeitgeist of board gaming has sort of moved on to a different area. Like these are all common areas.
yeah.
So we had asked, like, you had Suro as your forever memory building, starting people on the journey. My game for the year for starting people on their journey might be Landmarks from Floodgate Games. Have you played the
I've
Landmarks?
not played it yet, but I've seen it so many times, and I that one looks so good.
It is really, really, really good. First of all, like for people who are new to the hobby, explaining that there's something called a cooperative game
Oh
will
yeah,
blow their minds.
absolutely.
Like, we talked about one group of people who could potentially be turned off by gaming is the hyper competitive one.
Hmm.
Like, um, Landmarks is a word game or a language game, which is language agnostic.
Hmm.
Like anybody can play the game, no matter where they are with their journey of that language. And you can flip languages if you want to play it bilingual, where somebody starts with English clues and then moves to French. You can do that with Landmarks. It's sold out at PAX Unplugged. It's a super, super duper solid game. Local Floodgate people make that one. I would recommend it. We should play it, D. You and
We
I, we
will.
would have a hoot. We would have a hoot with that.
Yeah, we'll play it at Gamma.
Um, for two players, my go-to is Boop.
Yep, I was gonna say Boop. Yeah,
Oh,
Boop.
Boop.
It's just so good. It's just so good.
It's
Scott Brady, man, he's good.
it,
It's like he was in
well, I
Boop.
it,
Like,
like the design is good,
yep.
but like Kurt putting the right theme on that game
Oh yeah.
is what makes that game approachable for
Yeah.
non-gamers.
Oh, 100%.
When you
Yeah.
say it's about cats booping other cats off the bed, everybody thinks that they can do that.
Yep. Oh, 100%. It's so accessible. And a parent teaching a child, they love the idea of the cats and the kittens, but there's so much strategy and so much spatial thought that goes into it. Have you tried Boop the Halls yet?
No, is it good?
Oh my God. It's so good. The little Christmas, so you can win naughty or nice. So if you win,
Oh.
right, I always win naughty. If you the little you either win nice by getting your three cats in the row, just like Boop. But if you knock your opponent's Christmas ornaments off the tree down to the bottom, you win naughty. So, oh,
Oh, I
it's
like
so
that.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah, that is fun. That is a great addition to Boop.
yeah.
Can you play classic Boop with Boop the Halls?
I think so. I'd have to. You know what? I've never done it. Because we have both side by side, so I've never really thought about it. But I'll have to check. I know, like with the spooky Boop, you could play classic Boop with it.
Boo, you mean
Yeah.
Boop?
Boop. Yeah.
Boop.
Boop. But yeah, I don't know about Boop the Halls.
Yeah. So, uh, I've been working on this, Dean. You can always remind me to continue to do this. I was interviewed for the Twin Cities paper, which is called the Star Tribune. We used to have two like full size papers, but the shrinking of newspapers in America, that's a whole another set of tragedies. But we still have a major metropolitan newspaper. We call it the Star Tribune. And the Star Tribune interviewed me about like local games and game suggestions. And I, of course, pitched them Boop, never once thinking like, well, maybe you guys should like, buy local games.
Roller
Like,
die.
I can't tell you how many, like, how often I end up going like, and so my 2025 resolution should be think about mentioning that people should buy our games at least once a media thing,
Yeah, promote your stuff too. It's hard to promote your
just a
stuff.
little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to promote
Yeah.
yourself though because we love it. We love our gamers. We love our designers. So it's so we play other people's games and get so excited about them too that we love to share those. So yeah, I get it.
And Kurt, Kurt's great. Like it's really hard to believe that he is the only actual employee for
Yeah,
Smirk and Dagger,
crazy.
right? I mean, he's got
No,
a lot of helpers and contractors and so forth, but yeah,
yeah,
the
that's
only person who gets to say that there's Smirk and Dagger is Kurt.
is Kurt. Yep.
Okay, so we did two-player games. We
Yes.
did we did entry level games.
Yep.
What is your party game suggestion for people who are coming in to bring in big groups together? Like Landmarks will play 10,
Mhm.
but I think playing Landmarks 10, everybody should play Landmarks at a smaller group before getting
Yes.
like, yeah.
I have a couple that I love to suggest. Wing It by Molly Zaff is
Ah,
so good with a big group of people, and it's so fun to hear all the stories. Um, Do you know? You think you know me? And Cloud Nine by Amy Bao, I think I
yeah,
pronounced
Amy
it.
Bao.
Pink Tiger games. Those two games. Oh my god! Like honestly, you give those games to particularly a mom or a grandmother who's looking to connect their families. And Cloud Nine and Do You Know Me? Those two games come out. They just you can see their eyes light up when you say you're talking about good feelings and memories. So yeah, those two are great.
Those two games are in a category of games called conversation starters,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And it's right next to like storytelling games, but normally they're true.
yeah.
So, like, Amy specializes in those kinds of games. So, at Gamma, I've been helping out for like various small mentorships for people for the Horizon Fellowship. If folks didn't know, one of the big things that Gamma does is help people who are new to the industry as far as game designers go and new to the industry if they're retailers. That's what your end of Gamma is
Yeah.
currently, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm on the Gamma Retail Voting Member Group Executive. So basically, I just represent the retailers and bring their interests to Gamma as well as help organize things like education and things like that. Yeah,
Because education is so important because gamers have a good experience at one shop or people who are new to gaming if they are new to gaming and they have a bad experience, they will say gaming is never for them.
Hmm.
Right? As Brian Winter likes to say, rising tides rises all boats.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
I remember
And
the first
so,
time I heard that. That was something that changed, like something in me in my core when I heard that at my first Gamma. When I heard that a rising tide floats all boats, said from other retailers, and I realized that we were in it together. That this was,
yeah,
retailers are there, and most retailers in the game industry, that at least in my experience, are there to help each other succeed, and they want
except for the guys in Baton Rouge. Like I get Mason to talk about like Baton Rouge. They have like 7 game stores and they all go to a dinner at Gamma with each other. And I'm like, Mason, do you guys get along? He's like, no. I'm like, why are you guys all going to this? They're not in their own city. Do they get together? Like, it's like a summit. Like this is the time that we all sit across from each other. The Twin Cities, as you know, D, has a great relationship between all the stores, practically.
Yeah. You guys have some good stores up there.
Yeah, like it's pretty great. And so, the same thing equivalent happens in like game design. One of the first things that like new to game design people ask is, how do I protect my ideas?
Hmm.
Inherently, across the board, everybody who's been doing game design for a while says you don't.
Yeah.
Like the only way ideas improve is by playtesting them, and like it is very, 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 very impossible to copyright mechanics. What you can copyright is rules and images, and so it's that moment for them.
Yeah.
It's like, huh?
Oh, you mean it where we can share these things?
You're like, I thought game design was something I did and didn't tell anybody, and I didn't act with anybody. I'm like, oh no, no. If you want your game, if you want your game to be out in the world, you are going to be interacting with a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
But party games.
So
party games.
All right. So we're talking about gamers and gifts, and we talked about rules. We talked about taking your blinders off to what you enjoy. Don't buy things. If it's a gift, don't buy people games that you like and expect them to like if they've never played it. But we talked about if a game is an obligation, if you buy a game for, particularly for non-gamers, you really should put it on the calendar for when you will be teaching them the game.
Yeah.
This is critically important. As a side note to both 1 and 2 is understanding where people are with learning and in particular or their game journey, but in particular learning, like how they like to learn, is critical for whether or not you're going to give a gift that is about you or a gift that they will enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, D, as an expert in selling games, how do you help the person whose like significant other is a gamer and they themselves know where the game store is, and they walk into the store and say, my partner, my husband, my wife likes all this stuff. I have no idea. What should I get them?
So I ask a few questions. The first question.
All right. What are your standard 3 questions?
First question I always ask is, what have you played together that you like? Which is hard because sometimes there's nothing, and then you have nowhere to start. And then you can ask, what games do they already own? Because even if they haven't played them, the chances are they've stared at them on the shelf, and they can say, "Oh, I think I've seen this one, and this one." And then
which of these games do you recognize?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times it's like cold medicine. Like there's a whole lot of options, and you have no idea what any of them do. So what do you recognize? And then what do you want out of the experience? Like, do you want your wife to have a game where, or husband to have a game where they can sit down and play and have a nice, great gaming experience with their gaming group? Or do you want to connect? Do you want to do something that gives some for you and your partner or your friend that you're giving it to and other people, that is going to be maybe not exactly what they love, maybe not exactly what you love, but something that you can meet in the middle on, something that's going to be, in my case, I enjoy a mid-weight hobby game. My husband won't play anything more complicated than Sushi Go. So meet in the middle where we enjoy we do enjoy playing a game if we can find the right one. Trying to find those meet in the middle games is what we like to do.
Do you ever steer people who are buying games for gamers who are not? Like, do you recommend solo games for people who know that their spouse is a gamer and might retreat to gaming for their own solace, but might not have completely embraced the idea that there are solo games out there?
I think that's a great idea. Like, I mean, I actually don't have a ton of solo games, but I will sell games that are playable by one. So, if you one or more. Oh, yeah, that's Mouse Cheese. My problem, I love Mouse Cheese Cat Cucumber, but I'm so bad at it, Seppi. So bad. I remember.
All right, so
that one. It hurts.
you are hopefully we're going to have 20 minutes to play the new one. We're having a fourth in February. We're doing a fourth in the series, and it is the sequel to Mouse Cheese Cat Cucumber called Kaiser Cucumber and the Gangs of Mechanical Corners. So, my co-designer Patrick Yang for Mouse Cheese and Conquest Princess had a secret project brewing, and he was like, "Hey," he scheduled some time with me and my creative director, and he's like, "These are all my favorite mechanics from Fight in a Box games."
Yeah.
And I made this game. What do you guys think?
You squish it all together.
He did, and I'm like, this seems like a good start, Patrick. And we normally don't publish anybody else's games, but I will help you fix it. And it's based on all of the stuff that I've already written. So I was like, it's weird to have somebody do something that you're so intimately involved with, like creatively, and them making an homage to it in their thing. And I was like, whoa, I felt very seen as a game designer. And it went over gangbusters at PAX Unplugged. You're going to love Gangs of Mechanical Corners, and it is really, really good. You would think that we could not do anything more with 36 cards in this box. And you would be wrong, D. The new game is somewhere difficulty in between Hedgehog Hop and Mouse Cheese.
Yeah.
So
then I could probably
really
do it.
good.
Yeah, because I can totally play Hedgehog Hop. It says Mouse Cheese Cat Cucumber twists in my brain. Every time I see it, I get exactly. It twists in my. I'm not smart enough for it. Yeah,
the solo game recommendation is a real deal. And where what would be, if this is a new idea, what would be your intro to solo gaming title that you would suggest for people?
Oh, you mean not Mouse Cheese Cat Cucumber?
Oh, it should be if they like Mouse Cheese, it should Mouse Cheese is fantastic. And its solo mode is fantastic as well.
Yeah. I would say right now my intro to solo gaming is Gentle Rain. It is.
Oh, that's so good. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, it's a really good game. It is. I've fallen in love with it. It's one that I play all the time. It's one that my husband plays. And again, not a gamer. But it feels like a puzzle. It feels like a jigsaw puzzle, and he likes puzzles. So, I love it. Everything from the instructions, which talk about the first step in the instructions is put on loose-fitting clothing, relax, and make hot chocolate. That's the first thing you have to do to play the game. the blurb at the beginning says you've come to the lakeside to see something rare and beautiful. Well, my town's on a lake, and I'm cabin country for Calgary and other places, so it's literally made for my town. So yeah,
Aw.
it's so sweet, and I love introducing people to it. Yeah.
What's off season? What month is off season for you?
Usually October and then February is a little, I mean, February is pretty dull around here.
I like you're very like I would love to come up one October and just hey I love autumn off season places. I love like Maine just before winter hits,
Yep.
like right before like when all of the touristy people have exited. I love a resort town when all the resort people like San Diego in like New Year's, like the first
Mhm.
week. Like if you're looking for a place to go on the cheap, think about San Diego like the first 2 weeks of January. It is so cheap and it is empty. And the weather compared to Calgary, you'll be like, oh my God.
Yep.
San
Yep.
Diego's fantastic.
I mean, I'll be there on January 5th, 6th. That's the first day of the break is over. So,
Yeah,
January
yeah.
6th. That's when the kids go back to school here. So, you and I, it's a date.
You should go. Yeah, we should go. Go hang out, drink like mimosas and whatever have you, and just like, oh my God, yeah. Like I love like a beach town of life of a townie when the tourists are not there. I'm
It's such
like
a lovely feeling. And
totally
on
there for it.
so intense here in the summer. It's July and August, and then those 2 weeks when there's a school break. It's incredibly intense, and we love it because it's the main economic driver for our town. Um, but when that first 2 weeks after they've left, and we have this moment of peace and quiet, and the streets are empty, it feels like you can breathe for just a little while. And then, you realize that those people are the ones spending money in your store and you really want them back. And they're not back for another 4 months. So it's a circle.
It's a cycle, a kuna matata, as we would
Exactly.
say. A gentle rain is D. This is such a good suggestion. I'm gonna remember that. Like, don't think solo gaming is for you. Well, put on some loose clothes, get yourself a cocoa, and let's start talk about a gentle rain.
Oh, absolutely. Anyone can play it. That's what I love about it.
Anyone can
Anyone,
play. I know. I
anyone.
like a gentle rain. Yeah. It's
Solo
good.
games like Final Girl, which are amazing but intense, and I mean that's something you're not going to sell to the person that's coming into the lake for a holiday. That's not what they're looking for. But yeah, so for us, Gentle Rain was a massive winner.
You don't have people walking into the stores saying, "Hey, do you have a game that helps teach me about where to bury the bodies?"
That's a brilliant game. I mean, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
Final Girl might be that game, and yeah, it has a level of intensity. All right, so we hit solo games. We hit. What do you recommend any like deception games
Oh yeah.
or like big party games, like over 10 people games? What is your go-to suggestion?
Oh, so we're on party or deception or both?
Both, either.
Okay. So Facade Games makes amazing deception games that I love. So Bristol, which Bristol 13, I'm bad with dates, but the Bristol one, the Salem one, Tortuga, all of them play like some of them won all the way up to 12 players. So those games, they all play at least nine and up to 12. So Facade Games, hands down, my favorite deception games. I mean, there's other really, really good ones. Coup is an evergreen in our store. Resistance is an evergreen in our store. Those ones always sell well. If we're gonna do party, if we want to just laugh and be silly and have fun, right now Q's and Q's plays 10 and is selling like crazy. There's a few games by Exploding Kittens that are now bigger party games that are gaining a lot of momentum in our store. I mean, we do sell a lot of adult, like adult as an explicit sort of style games too, because they're easy. Again, open the box and play party games. So those ones
Yeah.
work well. But even things like What Do You Mean Family? Like What Do You Mean and What Do You Mean Family? Those two games are two of our best sellers because they can play, anybody can play them. I explained What Do You Meme to a grandma yesterday. She had no idea what a meme was, so I had to explain what the meme meant, and then I had to explain how the game worked, and it was so cute. Oh my god.
There's a whole set of games that can we get grandma to say dirty shit games? Like that's a category
Yeah.
of games in itself.
Well, I
Yeah.
divide my explicit games up into games that I will play with my mother and games that I would never play with my mother. So, and that's how I sell them. These are the ones I'll play with mom, and they're still dirty adult games, and these are the ones I will not sit down with my mother and play. So,
That is a great distinction and super approachable when you're trying to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers, or trying to finding the language that makes it make sense for them
yeah,
is part of the uh, uh, prescription for finding the right gift.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
if you come and start blabbing at a non-gamer in gamer terms,
Yeah,
or or you use more than four gamer terms in the first 10 seconds, then that person's brain will shut down
yeah,
because they're fixated on this first word that you said that has a meaning that they don't understand, and now you've loaded them up with three more, and then as soon as you give them a fifth one, that's it, they're out.
if you tell a gamer that, a non-gamer, you pick up a game and go, oh, it's a worker placement with some area control and then like engine building, they're out. They don't get it. They don't understand those terms. So right there, they're like, so. But like with Boop, I'll pick it up and say it's a spatial strategy game like chess, like tic tac toe. So
Like checkers.
they like checkers, exactly. So a game that they can relate it to, and that helps a lot. So.
Yeah, you ask them, have you played checkers? And they're like, yeah. Well, imagine checkers with cats booping each other off the bed, and that's how easy it is. And they're like, I can do that, right?
Exactly.
So, like when you're thinking about getting gaming gifts for other people, you really want to think about um, interacting with them in a way where they can say, I can do that, or I can see myself doing that. And it
Absolutely.
could be, I can see my whole family laughing around Nana saying filthy stuff, right? That could be the image. It
Absolutely.
could be, I need a quiet moment by myself with Coco with like, gentle rain. Or it could be, I need something to do with my daughter who is spending too much time on her phone and
Yeah.
she loves cats, right? Like it could be any number of these things simultaneously. The struggle to get away from screen time and reconnect with others, like board gaming, is a great place for that. The struggle to get out of our like media bubble and social circle and expand it to a new group of people, that's really a gift you give yourself that gaming can help facilitate,
100%.
right?
100%. It's so easy to isolate ourselves, and just find our own little, like our comfy chair and our device, whatever it is, and either scrolling TikTok, which we're on now, or like, even if book, whatever, but that isolation, I find particularly post pandemic that is harder. It's harder and harder to break out of those bubbles. I
It
think,
is.
yeah, and games help.
And if like one of the reasons that I am a big proponent for conventions of all sizes is this is an opportunity for people to step into a new community that will welcome them, that will give them a new experience, and bring them in a way that is healthy and help them explore. Unless, of course, it's Magic the Gathering, and then that, of course, is a cult. It's not exactly the same thing, but commander people, they have rights and feelings supposedly, and no, I know, I'm just kidding. I helped with MagicCon 30,
Yeah.
I really wanted on my shirt, on the back of my particular shirt as con staff that says, I've been out longer than Magic the Gathering. Uh,
That's fantastic.
it's a thing. It's a thing. Like, yeah. Like, how game and gamer are you? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
yeah, I've been out longer than Magic the Gathering. Like telling people that I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since the '70s, they like look at me like, "What?"
You're not old enough to be playing Dungeons and Dragons since the 70s.
I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons since the '70s.
I would have played it in the 80s, but nobody would let me play it.
Was because of the Satanic Panic, or what was it?
Okay, I grew up in the prairies in Saskatchewan, and that was a little bit of it. But also, it was a room full of boys who just did not want girls in that room. They were scared.
Oh.
Oh, I would have played the heck out of that game. But that's
Dee,
okay.
you would have been welcome at my table, girlfriend. We would have had we would have had a great
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah.
Like you could have played whatever you wanted from like yeah, like yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in the final 5 minutes.
Okay.
Now is a good time for you to talk about what's coming up next for your like role in Gamma or you whatever. Like what your plan is to do after TikTok. Like now is a good time, D. What can you share about D's future coming up in the next 3 months?
Sebby, I'm a retailer. I can't even think past December 25th right now.
That is fair. But to be a good host, I need to give you the opportunity to
All right.
like talk about it.
What's coming up for me? I am taking a cruise with some retail friends and in a non-retail capacity, which we'll probably talk retail, who's kidding who, but we're going to be in a space where we can just relax for a little while at the end of January. And
Nice.
that's going to be really exciting. Gamma is a month after that.
Where in March is Gamma?
Gamma's in February this year. In
What?
fact, yeah, it's early. February 25th, I think. It's
Oh my
really,
God.
yeah, it's
That
early.
is brutal. That is
Yeah.
brutal for
Well, the
me.
only thing,
So,
yeah,
uh, like, the 26th, I have Protospiel, Minnesota. The first, I have 2D Con. The 14th, I have Con of the North. The
yeah,
25th, I have Gamma.
yeah. It's
And
gonna
then I have
be,
Adepticon in March.
yeah,
Like, oh
it's
my
gonna
God,
be,
it's so brutal.
yeah.
It's so
So
brutal. I don't know if I'm gonna survive. I even have a crowdfund February 4th in there. Oh
oh,
my
that's my
God.
birthday. February 4th is my birthday.
Aw.
Yeah,
Aw, that's good. Please
yeah,
tell your people to super back my crowdfund for your birthday.
absolutely. I will. Absolutely. When I make my birthday post, that'll be the first thing on the top. There'll be a link to your
Yeah,
crowdfund.
like happy birthday to me. I need 14 fancy copies of Kaiser Cucumber and the Gangs of the
There
Comic
we go.
Book. Well, that is fantastic to know, and I will mentally have to, after this call, scream into the with what's left of my voice at the ceiling as I try to figure out Gamma being that many weeks early.
Yeah,
But yeah, any parting thoughts as we wrap up the discussion about getting games as gifts that you think is essential for the topic?
I think the biggest thing that you, when you're looking to buy games as gifts, think very hard about what the other person loves and something that they can experience that's going to be a smooth experience for them. Sometimes we look at a game and go, oh, yeah, that's super easy. I can totally play that. But then we give it to somebody else and it becomes a barrier for the other person. I would like to add also, if you're donating games, think hard about what you're going to donate. Um, a lot of hobby games get donated and never get opened or played because they're in that level of donation is too complicated for most kids and families to open and play. So if you're donating these games, look at really easy games that are open the box and play. Everybody loves them and everyone has a great experience with them. I mean, for like Amigo games, Taco Cat, Go Cheese Pizza, everyone can play it. It makes a great drinking game, so adults can play it too. So yeah.
And in that category, and to remind people, there are indie games. People don't think about indie games being particularly approachable, but there are plenty of indie games. Like we talked about Amy's games, we talked about Wing It, Silver the Whatnot. If you can, and you are a gamer, and you want the hobby to continue to grow, think about supporting your indie darlings, particularly from female designers and BIPOC designers, like this holiday season. And even if the person that is getting the gift, it's too beyond them, you have given somebody else a gift by buying this game.
Absolutely. All of the spoiler die.
Yeah, but there's so many of the spoiler.
I love that game so much.
Are you selling Jeff's version of Swirly Die, which is Squatch and Seek?
No.
You should.
Can I get it? I'm gonna have to check my distributor. I'll check my Canadian distributor and see if I can get it.
Yeah, or just message Jeff from Left Justified saying, "Hey, like you guys are out in like login country practically. This might be." This might be
Jacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Squatch and Seek. If you love Squirrely Die and want a new way to sell it, that's another way to make it happen. All right, T, you're fantastic. I listed all the things that we've got going on. Obviously, the big deal for us is me getting my voice back and figuring out where the Wednesday Board Game Live will be moving to after January 19th. We'll probably do it as a YouTube. Our YouTube channel is not too small, and then we'll probably simulcast it to Facebook. So that's probably something that's going to end up happening. But I've got to figure all that out. Otherwise, like daily content for me, you can see it in all the normal places. Our Blue Sky really took off after the mass migration. So if you haven't made the migration to Blue Sky yet, it's very reminiscent of the Twitter that you loved before stuff happened, and or early Twitter that you loved, not the just before the fall. But otherwise, hopefully we will have exciting things. I will have enough mental space together to bring new game designs for Produce Spiel, other than gangs of mechanical corners. All right, T, that's it. Like, how do you want to close them out?
How do I want to close it? Happy holidays, Seppi. It was so good to see you.
And thank you so much for making time. And thank you so much for being flexible despite all of this. And to all of you, happy holidays. We'll see you again on January 2nd for the next Board Game Live. Otherwise, everybody, please stay safe and have fun. Bye, everybody.